Yeah, perfect. All right, good morning. Welcome. We are going to go over the EnerGov Citizen Self-Service Portal. This is a new system that we're going to be adopting starting on February 22nd. We're transitioning from the Track-It permitting system to EnerGov. Just so you know, we're going to be taking Track-It offline. That's going to happen on the 16th of February through the 22nd. So starting on the 22nd, you'll be able to come in and register and log into the EnerGov system. All right. This display here is the main menu. I'm going to take you back in time for a second. If you remember, not too long ago, we never had computers or internet, for that matter. And when you wanted to interact with government, you had to basically go and wait in line. Let's say you wanted to pay your income taxes. You had to go down to the post office, or you had to go to the public library and get your forms. You had to figure out what forms you needed, and you really hoped that they knew what you were talking about, or they knew what you needed. So you got your forms, you got your instruction packet. It's usually about a ½ inch thick. You take it home, grab a pencil, calculator, and you add up all these things on this form. It took a long time. And then at some point, a company called Intuit came out with TurboTax. TurboTax really sped things up. It went from, I know myself, I used to take about a week to do taxes, and just recently I downloaded the newest system. I think it took me about 30 minutes, probably 15 of which was downloading the software for this year's version. So this permitting system, I really see it as very similar to that. This is sort of a revolutionary concept, I think, in putting all these things together in one portal. So I think you're going to really like what we have to show you here today, and this is going to help really our growing city cope with some of the highest permitting volume that we've seen in the history of our city. So what is CSS? CSS is a software system. It's going to enable us to be more efficient, accessible, and responsive. So what are you going to get out of this system? As we're going to show you here today, you're going to be able to submit and track information related to permits, plans, inspections, business and professional licenses, code cases, and public information requests. You have application and permit status, requests and outcomes. You'll be able to make payments on fees and other information, all in the same portal. You'll be able to submit any type of digital application online. Also, I want to mention there is an informational page at capecoral.gov/EnerGov. We update that regularly. We have a frequently asked questions page, which is, I think, very useful. Be sure to check that out. We update that frequently. I think we're at about 40 questions that we've been asked already in about a day. I also have a user manual on that website, and that gets updated. It's also about 40 pages. It has screenshots. A lot of the things that I'm going to cover here today are also in that manual. So let's just dive right into it. I'm going to cover the basics. This is the portal. This top menu here, you can see there's 7 tabs. The first one here is Home. Then you have Apply, Map, and so forth. The first step you're going to want to do when you, for the very first time, you log into the system, you're going to need to register. It's only the very first time. So you go up here to the top right corner, and you go to Register. You're going to be able to pick your own username. It doesn't have to be the same as the username you used before, but you pick it, and then you click this Next. It goes through a series of questions. You pick a email address, address. You enter in your information and really create your account. At that point, it's going to email you at that email address. If you have a Trackit account existing, you're going to want to use the exact same email address. So on or before the 15th of February, be sure to go in there and make sure that your Trackit email address is correct. That's going to help us to, when you create your new account at EnerGov, you're going to actually be able to match up your old permitting, your existing permitting information with your new eTrackit account, or sorry, your EnerGov account. So the accounts will match, and you will be able to see your permits that are in progress and so forth. So be sure to use the same email address you used with our previous eTrackit system when you register for EnerGov. So you go through these steps. It's pretty simple. You click Next. I'm already registered, so I'm not going to complete that again. But it's very simple. You enter in information. It sends you an email. And the email has a little blue link on it. And it says Confirm Email. So that's the first step. You got to click on that little blue link. It will say confirm, and that will basically make sure that you own that email address and we've connected you to EnerGov. So then you go back into EnerGov system, go up to the top right here, and this time you want to log in. Now you always log in after you register the first time. You log in from then on. So in this case, you click login. You can see I'm already entered in. This is my username. Password is entered, and you click login. All right, now we're into the main portal. There's a few more tabs here now that are visible now that we're logged in. So even if you don't have an account with EnerGov, you can do some tasks like search for permits and get some information on as far as public records and so forth. But when you log in, you get a lot more choices, and we're going to cover that right now. So first is dashboard, top left. As you'll see, it opens up. You have a section for My Permits. You have what needs your attention. It'll show up in red. You can click on that number. We're going to get back to that in a second. You have pending, active, any drafts that you have in process that are not yet submitted to the city but are still in the system, and any recent activity shows up. Similarly with My Plans, you have anything attention, pending, active, draft, and recent. You also have a section for My Inspections. My Invoices shows all your current fees that are due or past due, and also it shows your licenses. So this is kind of a bird's eye view of your account with the city.
What does attention mean?
Attention means it's something that it needs your attention. For example, if you submitted a plan, this is my plan, so if you submitted a plan to the planning division, you wanted to apply for a variance or something like that, it would show up here as it needs your attention. Similarly with My Permits, this is something you sent to the building division for, say, a building permit.
So that's the city getting back to me.
Right, right.
Excuse me, what about revisions?
Yes, it's a very good question. We're going to get to that in just a second. The way I'd like to do this is go ahead and walk through these things, and as I show you each tab, I will definitely cover both of those. And then we'll have a section right after that where we do questions and answers. Go ahead and let us know at that time if you have any additional questions. So the next tab, home screen. This is got a lot of useful links. These tiles here show pretty self-explanatory. However, I will go through them quickly here. Search public records. You can do apply. This tile you clicked on to apply any type of permit, any type of license, you will get there. My account is all your information, your address, your email address, your phone number. If you have any additional phone numbers, alternates, or emails, it's a good idea to include them. We always like to have additional ways of getting a hold of you in case we need to. Generally, we'll use the main email account, but any additional contact info will really help us out. Here you click on invoice, or pay invoice. That's if you happen to know the exact invoice number, you would enter it in there. There's a different way to pay invoices that's a little more user-friendly, and I'll show you that in a second. Here it's a map. It's a map of the city. It's interactive. There's some useful tools there. You'll have to experiment with that. Calendar. Let me click on that quick. Now, if you have a lot of things going on, this is on February, but let's go back a couple months. You can see all the city events. For example, you have public hearings. You can filter these in or out of the map or the calendar. So it'll show up as public hearings, holidays that were closed, inspections you have scheduled, and so forth. Now, this I think could be really useful for you if you have a lot going and you want to wait until a little bit later to pay your fees and so forth. So let's go back. I'm going to touch on apply here in a second in depth. Let's go to my work. This is sort of a central area I think that you'll use a lot. As you click on this, you can branch off to several different items. You can go My Invoices. You can search and filter if you have a lot of things going on. There's a lot of tools here that you can explore. My permits, those are building permits. Anything that you have active or in process will show up. You can see these blue permit numbers. You can click on them to go to a detail screen for each one. We'll get back to that. My existing inspections, again, the permits that you have active will show up here for inspections. Request inspections is a specific tab just for that. That makes it very easy to request several inspections at once if that's what you need to do. And of course, my licenses. If you have multiple licenses on your account, you can filter and search by that. Today's inspections. This is, again, another way of listing what you have for inspections today if you scheduled it. And you have the map. There's different access to some of these tabs from different pages. Here's a little example. You can type in a specific address here. Be sure to use the abbreviations. So if you have 800, you don't want to type in the full name. It won't find it. You just use the common abbreviation. So Northwest 13th Terrace, for example. If you search for just that, a partial address, if there's more than one address in the system, in the city that has that search string in it, you will get multiple choices. In this case, there's nothing with that search string. Pay invoices, again, that's another link to, if you know the specific invoice, you can enter that in and pay just that one. There's public information search. You can really filter by a lot of different things here, as this menu shows. Keywords and addresses. Again, the calendar and the 311 system, which many of you may be familiar with. This is a way to contact the city to let us know if there's something we need to address. You can have an account. You can check on the status of your 311 address. So this is really putting it all in one portal, and I think it's going to be very useful in that regard. Let's get back to the portal. All right, so what I'd like to do here is just go through a basic permit. And what we're going to do is a residential construction permit, which is actually, I guess, one of our more involved permits, so this is a good example. The first thing you're going to do is either from the dashboard or from apply, actually also from map you can do it as well. You can enter in the address if you want to start that way. However, I really think that clicking on apply is more intuitive. So let's do it that way. Apply, there's an application assistant. As you can see, this is apply not just for building permits, but if you want to apply for a BTR or a business license, anything through the planning division, also building permits. So one way to do this is you can enter in a keyword. Let's say we want residential. We just start to type it, and there's a bunch of choices that come up. In this case, we want residential construction. So we could click right on that. Let me show you one other way. You can actually go down to the tile. Some of the more common tiles will show up. And you can see there's multiple different things you can apply for. So let's go right here. You found the tile. Here's a description. You can just start it by clicking apply. All right, this is the beginning of the permit application process. You're going to see as I go through this how simple this is. You got 1 through 6 steps. You can see locations, type, contacts. As you go through the system, you will see how your progress is going, and you'll be able to tell when you're about to review and submit. They're going to help you out. So the first step is locations. As you can see, as you pull down this menu, there's several different things you could do. You could enter your billing location or home, your mailing or shipping, but in this case, we just want location. That's going to be the site address for the construction. So we click on location, and then we click the plus sign. Just to be simple, let's use an address that we're all familiar with. That's City Hall. You would use a different address. As you can see, you hit enter or you click this little magnifying glass. It will find the address, and then it will give you a couple choices. So you go ahead and click either on the parcel itself or on the little radio box here on the left, and then click apply. And you can see it confirms that that's the location that you plan on building. You'll see down here, create template. If at any time you want to save your work and create a template that you come back to later on for simplicity, definitely recommend that, especially if you have a lot of different houses that are exactly the same. At any time you can click this button and you can actually name it something. I'll just name it sample. And then go ahead and save it. That's going to let you come back to it in the future. It's going to save some time. You can also save your changes anytime if you have to get away from your computer for a second. But this system really is very quick, so let's just move on. Next, you'll see, anytime you see a red asterisk, that means it's required. You need to type in something. In this case, even if you don't want to put in that much of a description, you could put in, say, the type of house that it is. Let's say, if it has a name. Could be anything. You could say NA for not applicable. But this has to have something in that box if it has a red asterisk. So let's just go ahead and just do a sample. Let's just say this is 340,000. Click next. All right, this is where you add your contacts. As you can see, if you have an account with the city already, you will show up right here. This is if you have a building contractor license. If you have other people to add, you go ahead and pull down their designation here, and then you would add their license in a very similar way that you'd add attachments as we show you later. Let's say you have an architect for your building. You would add the contact, click on it, and you'd be able to search for someone's name your architect, and they would be able to add to the permit. Let's just skip that for now. Go next. If this is associated with a master permit, you can enter it, but as you can see, there's no red asterisk, so it's not required. So then you would just go through the interview. Anything that's red, you got to select. Let's say it's 5B construction. We'll call it a stem wall. Single family, there's no firewall. The rating is not applicable. 1 story, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Required elevation. If you're in a flood zone, you're going to need 1 additional foot above and beyond base flood elevation. So let's go with, let's just say you're at 10 foot. Number of driveways, resod frontage. You can see it's very, very straightforward. Water meter. Electrical is either above ground, below ground. Let's say it's below. Flood zone. You can actually search for this if you're not familiar with it. There is a search site on the that's linked to this system. In this case, we do know the flood zone. Let's say it's in the special flood hazard area. Let's say it's AE with an 8 as a base flood elevation. Living area square foot, garage, and so forth. There's a minimum setback. It's all pretty basic. Let's say we're maxed out, 7.5 on left and right. And we're on to next. All right, this is a section of this system that I really think is going to be useful to help avoid a lot of misinterpretations and confusion. This is the attachment section. There's going to be a description for every permit you have. When you click on this, it's going to list these items, and it's going to help you to determine what you need to submit. And will help to eliminate a lot of the back and forth that we've been experiencing. So we're actually very excited about this section. It tells you what you need. So again, you start with the site plan. Down here, we have the same tile. I might have confused it there. Let's start with something a little simpler. As you can see, each permit that you apply for is actually very similar. The pages and the steps are the same, and just there's a little bit of details that they put on there that's different. Some of these permits require a lot less input. Okay, so again, now you're back to the attachment screen. If you pull down this menu here, this pull-down menu, you can actually select what you want. Let's say it's going to be scope of work. There's 2 different ways you can do this. The first way is to click on this plus, and then you have to find the document on your computer. Let's just say it's this one here. We're going to double click that, and it will show up as the identifier that you selected. That is one way to do it. However, there's a second way, which I actually prefer. You can actually split your screen here, and if you open up your window, let's say you want to add a Burling Owl affidavit. You can actually click and drag it right over. So if you left click, hold it, and drag it, that actually does the same thing. So these names are a little different because the permit is different. However, site plan, click and drag. You can get through most of these very quickly. whatever it may be. Just for demo. Again, you can save anytime. So go ahead and click when you're done with all your attachments. As you can see, we're on the final step here, review and submit. So anything that's green in EnerGov, you've already done. Anything that's blue is in process. This is the final step, so be sure to check this really carefully. This is really your last chance to check it. The next thing we're going to be going into is paying the minimum deposit. So take your time, make sure that you entered everything in correctly. And when you did that, to actually apply for the permit, you're going to click Submit. Sometimes you have to be patient with computers. There's a little blue bar here at the top of the screen that's showing how it's loading. When you're uploading several documents, it could take a second. It will show your progress here as it loads. So be sure not to click twice. Just give it some time to think. Then it gives you this confirmation, so your application was submitted. You can either continue to the permit at this point, or you can immediately pay the minimum deposit. Depending on how many permits you're doing, if you're doing several at one time, maybe you want to go ahead and apply for all of them and then go back later and pay 3, 4, or 10 of them at once. It's up to you. However, you should know that if you don't pay the fee right away, I'll just say this, it won't actually get processed until you pay the deposit. So it doesn't have to be now, but let's just say you do want it to be processed as soon as possible. So you can either continue to the permit to the detail screen, or let's just pay the fee right now. I'll show you how that's done. So it's just a shopping cart. Let's go back to full screen. It's very similar to checking out using any other system like Amazon. Very simple. You go to checkout, you can see your permits and so forth. You just click checkout. Just for the demo, I'll just enter in some sample information. Doesn't really matter for this. You can use any of the 4 major credit cards: American Express, Discover, MasterCard, Visa. Let's just say it's MasterCard. And just select a random date for now. That's it. You click Pay Now. This just says we're running in demo mode, so nobody actually got charged for that. And that's it. You've paid your fee. It will actually send you a receipt by email to your registered email address as well. And you just click here, Continue to Site. Which it just indicated that it did email us. So we're back to here. If you want to go back to My Work. Now we're going to go back, and let's say that the city has reviewed your plans. Everything is as it should be, no code compliance issues. All the documents you needed were there. So they approved your plans. They will actually, at that point, send you an invoice for the remainder of the fees. And when you pay the fees, this system is a little different than the previous eTrackIt, is that when you pay the rest of your fees, so you've paid all the fees for the permit, the permit will actually be issued as soon as we can get to it. So there won't be any delay, and you won't have to email us to ask us to issue the permit. That was a previous system that we had. It was good for some because they didn't necessarily want to get started right away and issue the permit. But this is going to be less work for the citizens, so we do like that. So let's just say you got approved. Let's go back to My Permits. You did pay your invoices. Everything is paid and the permit is issued. When you go into My Permits, it's going to show up as active. But you can see that there's attention that's needed. So let's click on that permit number. Also, sometimes you're going to see a hold is currently existing. A lot of times that's informational. That's not going to hold up any inspections or anything about your permit. A lot of times it says something such as you're in a flood zone. It's more informational. Or there's a gopher tortoise present, etc. Sometimes it's actually something that holds up the permit, but quite often it's not. So that's what that is. Anyway, this has all the details on the permit, sort of the permit detail page. Every permit you apply for has this page. There's lots of tabs here. There's a summary. Let's go through that quickly. Shows your progress on the permit, and then your workflow. Again, anything that's green is already done. It also says it's passed. So you don't have to address anything that's green. The first thing that's not green, either it's blue and it's in progress, or it's gray and it means that you have not completed it yet. So let's say now you're building, you have your foundation ready, you want to request an inspection. There's a couple ways to do that. First way is to click right here on Request. The other way is to go into your Inspections tab right in the center of the screen. This way shows all the different inspections that you could schedule in one screen. In this case, this is a notice of commencement. It already was passed because you submitted it already. As you go further down, you'll see these red comments. It will tell you this system is similar to Track It in a way that it's sequenced. So you can't go and request, say, a sheathing inspection because you haven't even put your roof on yet. You have to do your foundation, so it will help you out. It is ordered in that way automatically. So in this case, all you have available is your foundation. That tells you that's your next inspection. So you click on that little box, and there's a blue button down here, Request Inspection. Pretty straightforward. So then it gives you the details. You can enter in a date manually, or the easier way, I think, is to click on this little calendar icon, pick your date that you want it, let's say on the 16th. If you have any gate codes to get into the development, or if you want to request that the inspector call you prior to coming over to confirm, or anything else, go ahead and enter that in. It's not required that you do. In this case, let's say there's nothing to enter. So now we're going to click Submit. It gives you a confirmation here. You can see the little green arrow or green check. That means that you are scheduled for the 16th. And just so you know, when you schedule it, it's actually called requesting inspection. So you've actually requested an inspection for the 16th. Up until the 16th, let's say that's a week from now, you can actually go in and cancel that if your situation changes. It's very easy. You go back to your Inspections tab and you just click on Cancel Inspection. Confirm, are you going to? Yes. There, you've canceled it. So very user-friendly. Again, you would just do the same thing again if you wanted to schedule that. Attachments. Let's cover that. I had one question already about that. As you can see, you have your little files here. Each tile is one file, so you can only put one file on each tile. It only takes PDF files. So PDFs are, a suffix. It's a file that any computer can open, portable document format. So you can't upload, say, a Microsoft Word document or a JPEG. It has to be PDF. So again, if you're going to submit additional documents, let's say, for example, that it didn't get through the review the first time, and they said, well, we need to have you address something on the site plan, just resubmit. You're going to pull down that from the menu. So there's different selections. Like if it can be a site plan, again, it will show up as actually, if they request that you need to resubmit, it will show up as a blue tile on the screen, and you'll be able to select it. It'll be action that's necessary. But just for the purpose of this demonstration, let's just say that was one of those tiles. You click Site Plan, and again, add it this way or drag and drop. And that's how you resubmit. Contacts, this shows everybody that's listed on your permit. This system is a little different than Track It. This system actually allows anybody that's registered, anybody that's on your permit as a contact to schedule your inspection. So it leaves it up to the management of the general contractor a little more, but it doesn't eliminate the fact, for example, if you had a subcontractor, electrical, he can schedule the inspection as well. So you will have to coordinate, but you won't get tripped up with that. That was one thing I think is really, it's a good advancement. There's other tabs. If you're curious about the hold, as you can see, this one's just informational. Just be aware this isn't a flood zone. Won't hold anything up. just letting you know. There's different rules, of course, for special flood hazard area. And then you get all your information here in case you need to access that. Fees, straightforward. In this case, this is a previous example. We already went through and we paid the fees. So all the fees are paid, nothing unpaid. Everything is broken down here. The invoice number is here. You can actually get more information by clicking on that. See a 15% deposit to get started and 85% remainder, as well as the impact fees and so forth to issue.
How can you be notified that fees are due for the final, that it's been approved the final? Do you receive an email or?
Yes, good question. It is. They will send you an email at your registered email address. You can also log in at any time and get a real-time update if you have multiple reviews, building code, zoning code, et cetera. You'll be able to see if somebody has reviewed the building code and kind of where they are in progress. So that's kind of a nice advancement. Before we had to do all of it at once and then email you the results, and you didn't kind of know until the very end. So yeah, it will send you an email. There's a link on the email. You can do it that way, or you can, if you happen to be in here and you're in your dashboard, it will show up as something that needs your attention. Lots of different ways to do it. It will also show up in Invoices. So really the whole system is just designed just to be easier, try to make this process, more smooth. And the more I use it, the more I kind of, I'm liking it. It's, anything new is going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but as you can see, this is pretty straightforward. It's very user-friendly.
If I'm applying for a residential construction permit and it goes through electrical, and the electrical guy doesn't like something, will I get a email from that then, or will it wait until everybody has gone through it and then send me an email? Do you understand my question?
Right, yeah, there's several, it's a good question. The reviewer has the option of emailing you at any time. We're going to have to kind of see how that plays out. We could set a policy if that's popular enough. We could say, listen, anytime you fail something, go ahead and email right away so you can get a jump on it. It definitely will update in the system. So there's that. You will be able to see the results.
But will I get an email saying that that part has failed?
Right, that's part of our process, yeah.
So we don't know yet.
Well, no, I'm saying it's, we can email you anytime. That's part of we have a checklist for every single position in the city, and that's one of their checklists. They listen, if when you result it, it will go ahead and send an email at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I guess we're kind of into the question and answer period. We have lots of staff here. We have members of our actual EnerGov development team that's been working on this for years. Just want to recognize their work very quickly. We're going to be importing a heck of a lot of data, just an immense amount of data we've gone through. Our staff has gone through over 100,000 permits to verify the data to make sure we get a smooth transition. So I'm really thankful that they put in such hard work, and I think you're really going to be happy with the system. So again, we have lots of people here to answer questions. I guess we're just going to open up the floor and go with the first person. There you go.
Can we register now?
No, you have to wait until the 22nd. There's a process. The Information Technology Department requires several days. They're actually going to take the entire time from the 16th through the end of the 21st to convert the data. So that's really important. We got to make sure that's right. They have several processes, and then starting on the 22nd, you can register in the system and then log in. Good.
This apparently is pay as we go. We don't need to have an escrow like we did in eTrack-It. What's going to happen to the money that we have in escrow when this transition is over?
Great question. There is actually about 1,800 accounts that have positive balances, and we are planning on crediting that back. As far as the details, that's an IT question at this point. They are still working on deciding whether they're going to credit all those amounts back before the go-live date on the 22nd or whether it's going to be shortly thereafter. But the plan is definitely to allow people to recreate an escrow account if they so choose. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be optional, right? So otherwise, you can just pay as you go. Yeah.
My current architect puts plans and engineering on the same pages. If he repeats it like that, would I have to upload to the same page all the time? Just keep uploading the same documents if it's repeated?
Okay, great question. I actually got that last night.
Okay, so I didn't hear the question.
Oh, so the question,
It's the mics, and maybe they could step up, you'll have a better recording.
great suggestion, yep. If it's active, we can go ahead and make a line there. The question was if he has a plan that has several pages, like architect's plans, structural engineer's plans, and so forth, will he need to separate that out? I think is what you're asking.
Yes.
The plan is to require you to separate it out because the tile system really requires each tile to have one file. So like if you don't want to say put your site plan and your architect's plans and your structural and your electrical all in one, so that when with the volume of permits that we do, the customer service permitting division, they look at the tiles and they verify the plans, but they're not plans examiners, so we won't not put that on them as far as determining whether that's sufficient before it goes back to building code review. So we're going to ask that people separate the plans out, as you mentioned, according to who prepared it. If the architect prepared that, then he can put that on his, and so forth. So yeah, anybody else that wants to step up to the mic right here in the corner, and we can hear your question as well as the answer.
Can you just stand up and ask a question?
I think if you, yep, you're,
Loud enough, yeah, we can hear you.
The reason why we're asking to use the mic is because this session is being recorded, so we need to be on the mic in order for the answers to get heard by the people watching.
My question is, as a permitting service, will I be allowed to register an account for my service and attach multiple contractors' licenses to my account so that I can process on their behalf?
there's some technical issues that we still have to determine. This is quite a project. In that case, I'm going to have you stay tuned. Go ahead and check the updates website, the information website. We update that each day. And as we run through some of these more intricate questions, I'll get you an official answer.
Okay.
But good question.
All right.
First of all, what's the information website?
Okay, the informational website is capecoral.gov/EnerGov, EnerGov. We also have a flyer here. We have a couple hundred copies. We'll get you a copy here. It has the actual link on it. And there's a user manual. There's a frequently asked questions page. Surprising amount of information on there, and we're going to update that regularly. So as we get closer to the go-live date and we get a more definitive answer on some of these issues, we're going to post that on that website.
Will there be separate accounts for builders and the public?
Yes, if you have an owner-builder, let me just ask this. Are you distinguishing between, say, an owner-builder and a contractor? There's a different process?
Well, I'm a contractor. Under a ticket, I think there's more things I can access as a builder rather than a member of the public. Will that continue?
Yeah, this system is very similar for both. If you're a contractor, it will look a lot like this, the process I set up. You will show up as a contractor when you're logged into your account. If you're doing an owner-builder, it's a little different process. The owner-builders will have to come in and verify their identity. It's part of statute. They have to personally appear to sign the document and make sure they understand the responsibility that they're taking. So they show up in person, they sign the form, we help them out at the front, they will open an account, and at that point, if they have the documents, they can submit them, we can scan them in, or they can go home and they can scan them in at a later time and do it online like we just showed.
Final question, under search public records, will there be elevation certificates that we can find, and will there be existing home plans from prior houses that have already been built? 'Cause I know I can get those from, I forget the desk in here, but,
Right, the city clerk's office
Yeah.
archives those, and yes, that's the plan. Go ahead and put in your information request through the system. It should integrate, and you will be able to find elevation certificates that have been uploaded, any kind of information request. There's a whole list of it in here. It's-
or elevation certificates that are already in the system.
Right, if they've been scanned and added, yeah. Like I said, we're really experiencing a huge housing boom. We're doing over 400 houses a day, or 400 a month, rather. We did 51,000 permits last year, so we're doing our best to keep up. That's our goal, is to really make this process easier and more accessible for you. And this system, I think, will really help to integrate all of those functions into one portal.
Okay, thank you.
Question about signature verification for engineers on Facebook. Do you want to talk about that?
Okay, yeah, the question from online was, design professionals. The question, although I didn't get the question, I believe it's something about, is the process similar? And the answer is yes, absolutely. It's not going to change. You still need to have a design professional. Anything that they design according to their license requirements needs to be signed and sealed and dated the same way it was before. So if you do that digitally, you have them use a third-party provider. There's several, VeriSign and so forth.
Good morning.
Morning.
I appreciate your detailed explanation here and everything. But one thing I would encourage you, because everyone isn't quite as high-tech, and sometimes doing some of these things, I know you mentioned one about left click, hold, and drag. You know, some of these things get a little detailed more than, you know, I'm comfortable with. Now, is there a number other than that email address? Is there a number that I can talk to someone in person about a question, or do I have to use that all the time?
Yes, actually, we're setting up a hotline. For the time being, if you have any questions or any concerns, you can always call the Customer Service Permitting Division. Their number is 574-0546. Also, we really want to help you out with this, so if you, at any time you want to come to the front counter, we're more than happy to show you anything you'd like as far as if you're struggling with the system. This is our plan to really help people out. We don't want to just enact it and say good luck. So thank you for that question. Very good point. Yeah, click and drag. I did skip through that a little bit quicker. But also, if you in particular have any questions, come up to me after the show and I'll go ahead and...
Okay, and the other question I had was one I asked earlier was about revisions. How are those handled?
Okay, good question. So in the process, your permit's going to be issued and it's going to show up in the permit detail screen. If you want to submit a revision, you just go into the Attachments tab. I can show you here on the screen. Let's say you're already issued, you're under construction. Here's my permits. Let's say this is your permit here. This is your new construction residential. You would scroll down, and these tabs in the middle of the screen here, you'd click on Attachments, and you'd go down to this blue tile, and this menu here, you pull it down, you click on it, and there's lots of different possibilities. In this case, you want a revision. So you would click Revision Letter, and then go ahead and add it to your permit. You can also, when you get done with that, you can add not just your revision letter, but you can add your, say, if you're revising your site plan, you can add that as well. It will all come in as one to the city. The city will be notified automatically and go ahead and process that.
Thank you. One final question. What about outside engineering firms? How do they submit their results?
So they would be added as a contact to your permit. So there's lots of different permits, contacts to be added to the permit. That's done through the permit screen again. right here in contacts. When you set up your permit, you can actually add them to the permit. And then they'll be able to, work with the data and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
I think I have mine are like a little more practical questions, like application. First of all, back with the screen that you just had for the revision, other departments use this system. A lot of times what's happening is that button is not highlighted, like you can't submit. What do we do? Or is that always going to be open for us? There isn't going to be something on your side that has to be done in order for us, or we need to email, or how do we, if that button isn't there, what do we do?
Yeah, it should be there. There is a little slider bar, and it's part of our process at the customer service representative level. Maybe I don't need to go into that much detail, but they do have a little slider tab that they click on as part of their processing.
Right.
And when it's not initially active when you apply for your permit, because we don't want you to have too much confusion. So we just have you submit your documents the first time. We take a look at it, see if everything's complete. If it's not complete, we're gonna hit that slider to enable you to submit additional documents. And then they will send you an email that says, look, we're missing your site plan. And so it'll tell you exactly what we need, and then you're going to be able to submit it. You're going to click, select site plan, for example, and then you're going to submit it the same.
What about on revision? Like, say you click revision form, is your permit always going to be open for you to resubmit once it's been issued?
Well, once it's active, you should be able to submit a revision letter. This is Sherry. She's with our actual development team. She's been working on this for several years, so she's going to jump in.
The process is that when we issue the permit, the staff that issues the permit will open it up so you can submit any additional documents.
Okay.
Anytime anything's in review, it will be closed, so no documents can be added unless we ask you to add the documents or ask you to resubmit a document.
Okay. Now, when you're applying for a permit, like for us, we use a lot of prepaid permits. When we click into, like, how is that? Are we supposed to put I saw there was like a master permit number. How are we as a screen enclosure company going to, because pool companies pay ahead of time for ours?
You're gonna apply for an enclosure.
Yes.
Screen/fence, and then the type of work you choose will be your screen enclosure prepaid.
Okay.
Therefore, no fees will be added onto yours because it's paid under the pool. And you'll just upload the documents.
And it'll automatically, like, I don't need to let anybody know this is the prepaid permit number.
No,
Okay.
our back office, our CSRs will, when they see it's a prepaid screen, they'll attach it to the pool.
Okay, now, under application, do we need to fill out a paper application and upload that, or is it as once, okay, so
No.
that'll be done.
No more paper applications.
Okay.
You answer what's on the
Okay.
application screen, and that acts as your paper application.
Okay, and then last question, well, maybe not, but sorry. Okay, so if you have, how are you still accepting paper applications, and what is the process on that?
Right now.
Yes, we are. Trackit is still operational for a little bit here. However, we are shutting it down for the conversion process. So starting on the 16th and through the end of the 21st, we won't be accepting new applications. But if you have, technical issues or questions, and concerns, emergencies, definitely give us a call, come in.
I
we're gonna
guess
be
my
open.
question is, are you going to accept paper applications after the system is up? Like right now, we go in for every application. Like we aren't using the online system. We're using eTrackit to track our permits and to see, to see when it's ready and all, or if there's issues. But what are we required for? Is it going to be a requirement? Are you still going to have your permit department open for the public to come in and submit permits that way?
Great questions. Yes and yes. We will be open. We will accept paper applications for a short time. The plan is not to just immediately do this, to try to make it a little easier for everyone. Not everybody's ready to go all digital yet. So we're going to have a period of time where we're transitioning, where we have the new system, EnerGov system active, but you can still keep your paper plans. For example, if you had them designed already and printed, you don't want to go through the expense of digitizing right now, and you can wait on those.
Well, see, and that's kind of how, like, I guess my thing is how long, because right now, like, I'll tell you, obviously, when we submit in digital, it's going to have, the engineering's going to have to be digitally signed. So how long, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna have to go back to my engineer for, I've got paper engineering. How long are you going to be accepting paper permits, big submissions?
Well, I don't have a definitive answer on that. That's really a department level decision.
Okay.
But I envision that if this goes the way I think it will go very smoothly. It may be, say, 3 to 6 months.
Okay, and I just had one more question. I don't want to miss my list. Sorry. Well, I'll get back in line if I remember. Thanks.
Back to the registration. We currently have more than one person that applies for permits, but we are registered with E-Track at only one user who gets notifications. So when we register, can we register multiple people? We also have a separate person that just does inspections.
At this time, it will be like E-Track It. You'll have one login. It appears that coming in future versions, that you as a contractor will be able to create other users that will have access to your account. But that's in future versions of EnerGov.
Okay. So basically, we set up one user, and then they have to log in under...
The one email, you'll do the one email and use the one account with the username and password on that one email at this time.
All right, thank you.
Oh, my question is, I wanted to know if we, think about it, how long it's going to take to get a roofing permit going through the system, because now it's like we get it instantaneously. I walk in and you get the permit right away for the roof. So through this system, how long is it going to take?
That's going to depend on the procedures for the management. What happens is in this system, for this back office people, we can sort on like the roofing type permits. And if management decides we need to do, we're going to do them in a timely order, or first come, we can have individual CSRs work on like one type of permit. So we can have one person be working on roofing, one working on residential, and
So there's like, so you don't have like an estimated guess on how long, because now it's
Not
like
at this
instant. I
time.
get it when I walk in.
Yeah, I think some of that's like reading tea leaves. It's kind of looking into the future. However, we don't anticipate that the system will slow our process down. And matter of fact, there's quite a few efficiencies that I think are going to be gained. I'll give you one example. Let's say you submit a permit application for a single-family home. The zoning and building reviews will be able to be done simultaneously if that's the situation. So we don't have to wait, or let's say a commercial plan. The fire department will be able to review it digitally without actually having to travel to get the paper plan from the building division and so forth. So there's a little bit of efficiencies of scale there, I think.
So
We don't anticipate any change in our processing time.
Okay, but it will be a change with roofing though, because roofing, you get it like right there. Like, I get it instantly, so there will be a change.
Okay, so we anticipate this program to smooth out the process, okay? That's the whole reason we're doing it so. Sherry mentioned that we will designate people to work on specific permits that require rather immediate attention, simply for the fact that we are in, let's say, a hurricane season, and those items must be worked on sooner than later. However, there's still going to be processing time. I mean, with today's number of permits and applications being received, we have to allow ourselves for processing times, and currently we have them within 3 to 5 business days. I know recently has been a little bit longer because of the volume of it, but like I said, the system is implemented to be able to sort permits such as roofing, ACs, loan irrigations, those are that are required to be, done rather sooner than later. And we will emphasize on that for sure, and taking your question into considerations, how are we going to align this going live at the same time? You will still have the ability to come in person and apply for it in person and get it right away. However, going into the future, 3-6 months from now, all will be electronic, and we'll also adjust to those needs as well. And they will be prioritizing upon, type of permits and attentions that needed to be, focused on them as well, okay?
Okay, thank you. And the last thing I wanted to ask is, are we able to, like, in the portal, whatever you call it, upload, like, your contractor's license, like, when it expires?
Yes, my understanding is that all that thing, Steve already presented that last tile on the bottom of my dashboard, showing that you can update your licenses and everything and see what they are missing, if anything, if there's liability or workers' compensation or whatnot expired. I'm sure you will be able to upload those documents into the portal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not trying to make this meeting longer, but I just have a couple more questions. Old permits that are in the system already, are those all being scanned in and then we'll be able to print them from our computers, or are we going to need to come, like, say we lose this happens, we lose a permit on job site, do we need to come here to get a copy of it, or are those all old ones going to be uploaded into the new system?
If they were submitted paper copies and you want duplicate of the plans, you'll have to come in and we'll have to send them out. That's why we're going to the electronic, because then you could just print them out.
Right. Okay, so if it goes in paper, it needs to, if it goes in paper from then on, that permit is paper, and you will always need to, whatever you have to do with it, you have to come back here to take care of it?
No, not when we go live with EnerGov. If you're submitting additional documents for it,
Okay.
say a revision or that,
Uh-huh.
you could do that electronically.
Okay. Now, what about, are the permits, are they going to be, if I submit a paper permit, like say in the next couple months, because I've got to get rid of my paper engineering, is that going to be scanned in and I print those out? I still need to, okay,
Yeah, we're not going to scan anything in.
okay, okay.
We don't have the time.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I just got 2 questions. It's about inspections. Quite a few times there'll be the prerequisites in the sequencing of the inspections, and sometimes they're missing or they're wrong. Do I just email somebody about that, or call the office and say, hey, I'm missing, this job doesn't have all these needed. This needs to be removed before I can get my final. Do I just email
Sure.
or call that, or?
Great question. So that's always a possibility. There could be human error, or could be something wrong with a permit. Go ahead and, if you have a question about inspections, you can go ahead and contact the actual building division. That's 574-0549.
Okay.
If you have a question regarding the processing of the permit, the initial processing, completion check, and so forth,
Right.
go ahead and contact Customer Service Permitting Division.
Okay,
That's the previous number, the 574-0546.
okay.
You can also email permits@capecoral.gov, but due to the extremely high volume that we're having right now, I would actually recommend that you go ahead and call. And
A
we
lot
can
of
get you.
times I'll call the inspector and he'll say, oh, I can take care of that for you because it's just a glitch. They just put one too many or not enough on there.
You're right, and that's acceptable as well because they are very familiar with the inspection process.
They're still going to have capabilities to do that?
Yeah. There is a contact, like I said, a contact sheet that has all the different inspectors' names and email addresses and phone numbers
Right.
On the building division website.
Okay, and that second question is, I do a lot of them with the commercial, with the fire. Is that going to be an automatic? Because I have inspections with the city and the fire, but are both listed on, the portal.
Right, it's going to be integrated, so whether it's public works inspections or fire departments.
So they'll talk to each other?
Yep,
so to speak.
we definitely do talk to each other.
Okay.
It will all be part of the same system.
That'll work. Thank you.
You bet.
Obviously, there are some advantages to processing permits online, but I also believe that there's some advantages to processing permits in person and paper. There are other municipalities that have adopted the same software, and they continue to allow people to process permits in paper. I know you said there's going to be a grace period, possibly 3 to 6 months for that, but what is the issue with allowing people to do what they're comfortable with forever?
Yeah, it's a very good question. This is kind of the paradox of technology. Some people will love it. Some people will be not quite so familiar with it, or maybe they just prefer it in paper, like you said. As far as why we'd like to move towards all digital, it's much quicker in processing. That's always a concern for us. We want to provide the best service that we can, and part of that service is doing it quickly.
Well, like that woman said, roofing permits are done over the counter right now. So I don't think that'll be instantaneous through permitting online, right?
Well, the plan is to, like I said, make it all digital. It's not going to happen right away. We're trying to give a little bit of a grace period. From our point of view and from a customer service point of view, we really like the digital plans. For example, if you called after you had it issued, or let's say you were in process and you were a paper plan, we were on the phone with you and you said, listen, how about this permit? What's the status? If it's a paper plan, I won't be able to give you that much information about it, which is kind of stressful for us. It may be 300 yards away in a filing cabinet. But if it's all digital, we can actually provide better service by, if you have a question about a review, the person on the phone can pull up the plan right as they're talking to you and kind of work, sometimes you get a a review that's rejected, and you need to have a couple questions on it. And if it's paper, you can't necessarily communicate that well because you don't see the plan.
Yeah, I feel like I get better communication when I am actually in front of somebody.
And absolutely, anytime you want to come in to City Hall, we still like to see everyone. This is really designed to help people that really want to do the digital, and that's sort of the push. The whole industry is going that way. But if you prefer to come in person, we absolutely would love to help you at the front counter.
But there will be a stop to that at some point.
Well, we're still going to have the front counter open. So if you come in and somebody wants to put a shed in their backyard or whatever, and they're not really familiar with the process, we're going to be able to help them at the front counter, even if they just have a paper plan and they say, I have no idea how to do this. We're going to help them at that point. So that's always, obviously we're going to educate everyone and try to work our way through this, but that's a very good question, and we're going to help anybody that comes in to the front, so don't be shy.
All right.
I just have a couple questions from online. What will happen to inspections during the 16th to 22nd time frame?
Good question. Inspections will still be active. If you request them on or before the 15th, when the Track It system is still active, we will print them out and we will distribute them to the inspectors each day. So on or before the 15th, if you want to schedule inspection for the 16th, the 17th, or the 18th, that's okay. Go ahead and do that. We will print them out at the end of the day on the 15th, and we're going to do our best, obviously, to inspect those as they come in with a requested date. Oh, and then we're going to update them in EnerGov manually for you when we go live. We really ask you to do that, and the reason why is because if we said 3 p.m. or 4, they come in at 5, and then IT would be asking us, can we print yet? No, we still have somebody, So yes, if you could by noon, that would be perfect. We could work together on that and still provide a good service.
Okay, one last.
Correct. Someone just asked, they said we will not know the results. That is true because our permitting system will be down from the 16th through the 22nd. But beginning on the 22nd, we're going to enter them in manually, and then they will be visible in the new permitting system.
Okay, and then one last question. Will this new process speed up the amount of time waiting for a permit?
Speed up the time, like as in it takes less time to get a permit?
I'm guessing. I don't know.
We are hoping that in the long term that this will help. We have a lot of confidence that some of these processes and some of these new systems, as part of this new system, will help out. I don't anticipate that immediate change in that regard. I think that it will probably stay very similar for now. We are, like I said, experiencing extremely high permitting volume. We're doing the very best we can. We have a lot of overtime that's happening, and we're we're working through a lot of these challenges. But to answer your question, I believe that over time it will help, and especially as more people get into the digital side of it, we can get plans right up to fire, right over to Public Works. I know Public Works is in a different building, for example, so that's not particularly efficient when it's paper. But good question.
Good morning. So during the conversion process, what will happen with any emergency repairs?
Great, I had that question last night. We're gonna add that to the FAQ. We will help you. If you have an emergency, please contact us. Just because the permitting system's down, that's unfortunate that we have to do as part of a technological challenge of importing hundreds of thousands of permits. But if you do have an emergency, come in or call us, and we're going to help you out in any way we can.
Okay,
Everything is still active. LCEC will be connecting and so forth.
Right, and I work for LCEC, so that's why I'm asking, because we do the connect, so that was my question there. And then also, as part of that, under the applicant drop-down, I didn't see, it might be there, but I didn't see electric utility, so I'm not sure if you want to add that or how you want us to enter the applicant.
Yep, good point. This demo version is just that. The production version is going to have just some minor changes, so
Okay.
I believe that's going to be addressed.
Okay, and then when we used eTrack-It, if we sometimes didn't receive an inspection or maybe we weren't able to match it because we match on the address, we could see all the inspections in there. Is there a way for us to see all the inspections that have been approved in the city still on this program?
I believe what you're saying is, will your old eTrack-It data import and show in EnerGov? And the plan is to be yes. That's part of what's taking us really so long to make sure that we do this right, and we're spending a heck of a lot of time on it to make sure that all that data is imported and we can just go to the new system instead of having two systems active at once.
Right,
So,
I understand.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
Go ahead.
For people who like paper, you can go to their website and you can print out basically what was on the screen up here. It's the self-service user manual. And it's very, very helpful. It's one thing to see it on the screen, but you can print this whole thing out. And I've been flipping through it just as we went through it. So.
Well, thanks for mentioning that. I created that a few days ago. It's about 40 pages. It's on that capecoral.gov/EnerGov. We're going to try to make this process as simple as possible. And sometimes when you're seeing somebody demo it in person, it's hard to pick all of it up at once. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Definitely check that out. We're going to update that regularly. It has screenshots. It has commentary. You can take your time, go back and reference it. So.
I just want to touch back on one item which was brought up regarding escrow. So the escrow accounts that we have are going to be temporarily unavailable. I'd anticipate at least for the first week while we work to convert it over. We anticipate transferring the balances, but it all has to happen in the background, and a couple of things have to happen first. So at that time, during that time, I recommend using your credit card, but know that we are going to be working towards transferring the escrow. So this will be temporarily unavailable.
Do you have the option to do escrow or pay as you go, though?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I believe you can't do the escrow from the online portal. If you have a balance, and you guys process it.
Right. We'll transfer like we always do when we're issuing we put the money. We'll do the actual transfer, and we'll establish the accounts. It'll be accessible by us. But you can pay with both.
Currently, when we get our building permit, you guys print it here. And it's actually almost on card stock. Will you be printing those, or will we be printing those at home? You know, the thing that goes up on a permit.
So the plan with this system is sort of we are asking, admittedly, we're asking the applicant to step up a little bit with a little more responsibility. I'm sure we can work out something, but in general, the plan is for you to submit digitally, for us to review it, and then for you to print it and establish it on your site. They're all attachments. We covered that, but yeah, you'll be able to print it right from there. So. Okay, it looks like we don't have any other questions. If anybody wanted to come up later after the presentation here and ask additional questions, that's fine. We certainly appreciate you showing up. We got a good turnout here, and we're really happy to help you get through this new system. So have a great day. Thank you.
One other thing, please. One other thing. You've been very kind with your explanations here today, but I would like to know your name, the other gentleman's name. We don't have any identification as to who you people are.
Very good point.
All good questions.
My first goal is to not waste a single minute of your time. However, since you asked, my name is Steve Poposki. I'm the building official. I run the building division. We do the code review and inspections. This is Todd Hoagland here in the red.
I
He
didn't
is
get his name. Excuse me.
Todd Hoagland.
Okay.
He's our code compliance manager. We had Bogdan Sirnik up here previously. He's our customer service permitting manager. Amy Yearsley was in the black and white. She's with our planning division. And we also have members of our IT team, several here actually.
Okay,
But
thank you. That helps.
IT people like to be kind of in the background, so I'm going to honor their request.
Thank you.
Thank you.